Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome back to Scatter Love Tarot with your girl coming at you with another pick a card reading. First, I would love to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I am truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And if you happen to be new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. Wow, excuse me. And we do things differently around here. So with that in mind, if the message does happen to resonate, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. If you are interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It will have everything that you need. Now, today is a little different than what we've been doing recently, but I was really called to do a message like this. I got this new Oracle deck. I've had it for a while, and I just haven't introduced it. In fact, I have quite a few decks that I have yet to introduce to the channel yet. But this one I felt really called to use, and I thought, what better topic than the shadow message your soul needs to hear today. This is going to be with the Jungian Archetype Oracle by Giacomo Guccinelli. I'm not sure how you say this. Guccinelli? It's Italian, so yeah, this is a great deck. It's been really fun using it. It's done by Lo Scarborough. I wish the book was a little bit longer, but that's okay. That's all right. So we're going to hop to it. Let's go ahead and get to your prayer, and we'll get your reading underway. As we're getting this lit, I do want to mention that because we are tapping into the shadow self, that these messages could bring potential triggers, okay? And that's dealing with the shadow, right? Our shadow, our triggers is the things that we have yet to integrate, or we are working on integration, which means that they can carry a sense of heaviness to them. However, if you're brave enough and if you're ready, we will step into that energy and really dig in today and find out what kind of guidance you need moving forward in regards to that. Okay, so my beloved source, this prayer is for anyone and everyone that comes onto this reading, whether it's for the entire time or for a moment's time. Today we're digging into a very difficult yet rewarding topic that sometimes dealing with our shadow selves, it's just so much easier to turn and run and leave it buried behind the door or underneath the carpet or down deep in the subconscious. Don't want to face that part of ourselves because it's less than perfect. But what I ask for today is the courage to get through this reading and to see with eyes of love and to hear with ears of love as these messages come through. Knowing that if there is indeed a trigger, that the intention was never to intentionally trigger someone, but it was indeed to tap into a topic that, while we know about and is becoming a widely known topic, it is still something that is a bit taboo and is oftentimes shied away from because of the difficulties that it brings. So today I ask that you fill our hearts with courage and help us to see the seeds of truth that you're bringing to each and every one of us, knowing that you're doing so from a place of unconditional love and helping us to see ourselves as a more complete being. Instead of trusting, or instead of believing that we are incomplete, but rather seeing ourselves as the whole that we are. As these words are spoken upon this reading and onto this tribe, so shall they be. Amen. Aho. Ase. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my beloved source. Thank you. Let me get that set up. And of course, I'm right next to the train track. It's not something I can control, and they come by rather frequently. So I would say every half an hour there's a train going opposite ways, and it's only one track. because this town is a train depot. So, all right, let's dig in. This is a small deck. There's only 32 cards. Usually I like the bigger decks, but the small decks definitely can pack a punch. Source, what Jungian oracle card is going to help us better understand this message? The shadow message your soul needs to hear today for my fellow humans. The shadow message your soul needs to hear today for my fellow humans today, Source. What Jungian archetype oracle card is going to help us better understand this message? Thank you. The shadow message your soul needs to hear today. For pile number 1, Source, what Jungian oracle type or archetype oracle card will help us better understand the shadow message your soul needs to hear today, pile 1. For pile 1, Source, what card is going to help us better understand this message? This one. Right, and for pile number 2, Source, the shadow message your soul needs to hear today for pile number 2, what archetype Jungian oracle card is going to help us better understand this message? Thank you. All right, for pile number 3, Source, the shadow message your soul needs to hear today, pile number 3. Source, what oracle card is going to help us better understand this for pile number 3? The message for pile number 3. Thank you. Okay, so we've got the collective message on the bottom, the Lover. You know, it's interesting because we are seeing there's like a split right now between the collective. Those wanting love and those not even bothered by love. Like those that are just like, nope, I'm ready to throw in the towel. It's too much of a hassle. There's too much expectation. And then there's the others that like, I want love. I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life. Like I want a companion to share this life with. And neither is right or wrong. Right? It is what you feel for yourself. Remember, there is no right or wrong. There's only what's right or wrong for you. But I feel like with this card coming out on the bottom, it's just that reminder that really digging in and learning what is it that you're in resonance with, and can you be okay with that instead of being from this place of like, oh, I'm choosing this because my emotional ego is pushing me to do that because it's tired of being hurt. Or I'm choosing this because I really want love in my life and not because everyone else has it, right? And so this really feels like letting yourself dig in and find the lover within and being the lover to yourself. And that is much easier said than done, you know, on this journey to self-discovery, self-awareness, and connection with the divine. We're tapping into something that is not necessarily teachable because it's so personal. It's like faith. You know, everybody's like, oh, faith should just be faith. But faith is a very personal endeavor. It is something that means something to the person who holds it. And what that means to that person, it doesn't mean that to anybody else on the world because they don't see it from that person's perspective. The same with love. Love is vastly different for many, many people, but opening up to unconditional love is how we tap into what love is going to mean for us. Okay, and that can be scary because it's much easier to be given a cookie cutter version of, oh, you get married, you live in a white picket fence house, and you celebrate the holidays with each other, and you set up decorations, and you make these family meals and everything, but love is so much deeper than that. There is no cookie cutter version on it. There is how you choose to show up in the relationship and how the other person chooses to show up in the relationship. And if there's an ability to tap in deeper in that connection, and not always will there be, sometimes it reaches a plateau and it's not ever going to grow beyond that because maybe the other person's not ready, or maybe we're not ready, right? And owning where we're at in any one moment on our journey is so valuable because it helps us to break beyond barriers that we've set up or limitations that we've set up for ourselves. And if it's because of another person, that's okay too, because it's saying that this is teaching me what I don't want or what is not love to me. And even if it doesn't match or resonate with what another person wants, that's okay, because it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist out there for me. But oftentimes we get so jaded by the process. We get so jaded by wanting something and it not coming into fruition almost instantaneously, because we live in the day and age where everything is right at our fingertips. And when that doesn't happen, we end up getting frustrated and we get mad and we get upset and we just totally write it off and say, it's just not for me. What's the point of waiting? Because waiting hurts. Waiting is the unknown. We don't know what tomorrow may bring. And so sitting in that state of waiting, we are saying, I'm still in lack. I don't have everything I need. I don't have what's important to me. I don't have what I feel I need to survive, which is why it's so important to dig deeper into self and become the lover to oneself. So let's see what the book says about this card. Almost opened up right to it. Okay, it says the lover. He sits among the most ancient divinities, brother of time, twin of eternity, master of virtue, who ascends industriously towards Olympus, and of fortune, two-faced goddess, unstable guardian of all wealth, and the lover Eros. Old man and child in one, naive and expert in the things of the visible and invisible worlds, he binds and loosens, leaves and attracts. Reason, which governs the bright and clear things and the surest paths, is his enemy and companion at the same time. Oracle of the mortal who asks for himself and his pleasure, he points to the goal that calls him, because every creature that inhabits the earth is what he loves, loving above all else what he is. The lover Eros unites those who sit on opposite sides of the tables, those whom the gods and the mortals wanted far apart, light and shadow, spirit ascending towards the celestial ether, and matter descending heavy and taking shape, precipitating, winning in competition the slow and inexorable judgment. The lover, without conditions and without blackmail, understands and forgives. Accompanies shadow, unstable and without form in the clear and symmetrical tower of psyche. And the message here is love without conditions unites light and shadow, coming into a state of unconditional love. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with how people are acting or how people are showing up. But coming from a state of unconditional love means that we accept them as they are. And acceptance is getting oftentimes misconstrued for I have to invite. Acceptance is not an invitation. Acceptance is to leave as is. If we were to simplify it in the most, I want to say the most innocuous way, that's what's coming through. But if we were to simplify it, let sleeping dogs lie is a good way to look at this. If you go into a room full of dogs, or if you go into a room full of snakes even, right? If you don't know those creatures, but you know their nature, right? If you were to just step into a dog's territory, likelihood is that a dog is not going to like that and you're going to regret it pretty quickly. Same thing with a snake. If you step into a snake's den, it's not going to end pretty. We know it's nature, so there's no reason to go into that space. However, it doesn't mean that we cannot appreciate it for what it is and what it has brought into life, right? We can appreciate a snake from far away. We can appreciate a vicious animal from far away, or a known vicious animal like a lion or a tiger or You know, something along those lines. I'm not saying that they're not beautiful in their own right. They absolutely are. However, we're not just going to go and lay beside a lion and expect it to accept us, right? We have to accept it in its nature. And that's what it's coming to here with the love card, the lover card coming out. It's saying that when it comes to love, we have to accept those that we want to love in their nature. And just because they are as they are is not an automatic invitation. We have to use our discernment to ask ourselves, is this a right connection for me right now? Wow, what a powerful message to come through. Okay, so a little bit different. You might have noticed the $2 bill. I have wanted to use this as an option to pick from for a while, and I just haven't. And so I collect $2 bills. I have a whole jar full of them, if you will. I've been collecting them since I was a kid. My great aunt and uncle used to send my brother and I $2 bills for every Christmas and birthday and Easter. And it was just something really cool. Just one. They would just send one, but I mean, really, do you need more than that? And so I collect those, and I collect 50-cent pieces. And I didn't pull out a 50-cent piece, but I did have this $2 bill. So, all right. Let's go ahead and see what we've got going on here. So for pile number 1, you do have this dice here with Neptune on it to choose from. Or you have this chakra bracelet. And for pile number 2, we have this dice with Uranus on it. Or we have the $2 bill. And pile number 3, we have this selenite bracelet for you to choose from. Or we have this dice with the sun on it. So we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Whichever pile you feel drawn to, that should be the pile for you. And I will see you over there. Hello, my fellow human. If you chose this dice with Neptune on it, or if you chose this chakra bracelet, or if you happen to be drawn to this card during the shuffle, this will be your reading on the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. I want to first say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and space with you. And if you happen to be new here, welcome. This is a reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space for you to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. We do things differently on this channel, so with that being said, if this message does happen to resonate with you, I truly do appreciate any of you who like, comment, and subscribe below. Very quickly, we are tapping into the shadow self today. So with that, there could be potential trigger warnings that are going to come up. And I just want to preface the reading with this message so that you're aware as we go in. Okay, I'm letting Source bring forth the message, and I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but I do feel like you need to know as we head into this, because this is the shadow message for your soul today, that this could come with potential trigger warnings. So let's go ahead and hop to it and find out. So Source, for pile number 1, the shadow message your soul needs to hear, you to hear today. Pile number 1, Source, what would you like to share with us today? The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Pile number 1. Source, what messages do you have for us today? Okay, so we've got the 7th house. We have Aries energy and the moon. I just want to quickly say that if you did not catch the collective message at the beginning, it's timestamped in the description box, and you might get further messages from that really quickly. But we've got this energy coming in. There's been a lot of relationships in your life that have been very codependent, very one-sided as well. I do feel like you've given so much to so many people in your life. And I apologize, I don't have better lighting today. The little light that I was using, it burnt out. So this is the best that we can do right now. But this energy is showing that there's been maybe a lot of situations where people have been able to pull the wool over your eyes, or make you feel gullible, or make you feel like you didn't belong, and then came about and betrayed you in some way, shape, or form. They were either incredibly aggressive, they were just very... It was a very raw situation here. And this could be pointing towards one situation in particular, but it does feel like quite a few different connections. This could be friendship, co-workers, a partnership. This could be a love connection. This could be an ex. This could be an ex-husband, an ex-wife, an ex-spouse. Okay, so this could have ended a very difficult divorce situation. This could have been a very difficult ending to a friendship. This could have been a very difficult ending to a connection of some sort. We see that this was left with a lot of anger, which is justifiable, pile 1. Okay, it's understandable as to why there was so much anger here. And the anger is something that's fueling the emotional ego right now when it comes to future connections. I do see that there is an action of wanting to heal this, but there's nothing that quite calms the rage that has been built up and the resentment that's there as well. Like, why did I get this? Why was I the one on the short end of the stick? Why was I the one that had to go through these awful situations? And it's not that you deserved it. What Source is saying here is that this is a mirror of the mother wound that is coming through. This is where you were a child, you were not nurtured by a motherly presence in your life the way that you deserved, and thus, as a child, the emotional ego brought forth this coping mechanism that actually became the attraction magnet to situations for you to face when you were older, when you were capable of healing those. And instead of facing them, it became... This feels like a victim mindset, and facing that victim mindset has been very difficult because it's time after time. This keeps happening over and over again. This keeps arising again and again and again. And at what point is it going to stop? The shadow is not something that we should run from, right? Anytime we have these deep triggers, it's a chance and an opportunity for us to face that part of ourselves. It's not about getting over it. We cannot get over it. We cannot get around it. We cannot get under it. The only way is to go through. And that means that we have to validate and feel those feelings that we didn't get to express at that time, or that we feel were not heard at that time. And the message that your soul wants you to hear today, the shadow message, is that it's time for us to feel that. It's time for us to feel that pain so that we can let it go. And the unique thing about feeling pain is oftentimes it is so much bigger than we give it credit for, right? Like we're giving it credit for it being so big. Like, oh, it's so overwhelming. There's so much to it. It's doing this. It's creating a lot of havoc in my life. It's creating a lot of hurt and pain, and it's controlling my life in so many different ways. We give it so much power. And then when we choose to feel into it, we recognize that it wasn't quite the mountain we were making it out to be, because that hurt, our illusion of suffering, right? Suffering is really an illusion. It doesn't mean that pain doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that, I've read this book and I wish that I had my access to my notes right now, but I don't. But I read this book and it was so good. And it was talking about this character came through and it said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And I think someone even mentioned that at one point on the comments here as well, but it was in a book and it was talking about death and it was talking about the hardships that we go through in life. Like, life is going to happen regardless. So life and pain they're not an option, right? But suffering is. And we get confused and we pair pain with suffering. And that's what this feels like Source wants to talk about for you today. And this is the message that your soul wants you to hear. Because right now it feels like a pairing of pain and suffering, rather than seeing pain as pain and suffering is the illusion that I continue to hold on to. Now, it doesn't mean that what happened is justified, right? It's not. But we can honor how we felt. And if we're not validating how we felt when we went through a situation, we can never, ever ask another person to validate that for us. Why would we ever ask someone to do something for us that we cannot do for ourselves? And that's what is coming through. So Source, what else would you like to bring through? The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, pile number 1. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, pile number 1. Source, what would you like to bring through? Okay, thank you. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, pile 1. There's a lot of defensiveness here, and that's actually turning into self-sabotage now. Because it's like pushing people away. And it's easier to push people away than it is to go through potential painful situation again. And I can understand that and appreciate that as well. However, you might be doing yourself an injustice. You want soul family, but how is your soul family ever going to find you if all you do is push people away? Right? And that's hard. That's a hard thing. It's like, well, of course I want the people who are meant for me in this life, but I don't want to get hurt. What matters more? Do you want to have that lack of support in your life and lack of connection just so that you don't ever feel pain? Pain is inevitable. Pain is going to happen, and drawing people close means being vulnerable with them and offering them a part of ourselves. It doesn't mean we give away our power, but it does mean that we open a door to ourselves that we wouldn't open to just anyone. So they do have an opportunity and an option to hurt us, okay? But right now, you're stuck, and it feels like you're repeating a lot of cycles here. There's a lot of runaround is what I'm feeling. Yeah, because of the injustice that's happened in your life. There's been a lot of unfair situations that you've had to go through. But again, what we experience in the outer realm, right? As below, as above, so below, as within, so without. And sometimes this is a lot easier to grasp onto when things are good. Oh, great. It means I'm aligned within. It means that I'm feeling good inside. But the minute that something outside of us happens that is less than ideal, that is less than perfect, that is very frustrating, we immediately want to blame outside sources when there's really no blame to be had. There is no blame. And that's why I said at the beginning, you might benefit from checking out the collective message that came through, because I actually really talked about this in depth on there. And it talks about just being able to accept a person for who they are. But acceptance is not invitation, okay? And if you're saying, oh, well, if I have to accept them, then that means that I have to let them back into my life. We've gotten acceptance and invitation mixed up, right? Acceptance means I see you, and I see that you are in a low vibrational energy. I see that you are not in resonance with me. It doesn't mean that I have to hate you or despise you, but I can love you from a distance and keep myself safe, because I know that when I get involved in a situation like this, I end up losing myself and drowning, and I end up hurt. And that is something that we can do, absolutely. But at the same time, if we're using that to push everybody that's coming into our life away, we're saying that we're never going to open up to love until someone first steps in and gives us that comfort. But to be vulnerable is to be outside of our comfort zone. So we have to choose to find solace in our discomfort first, before we can ever invite in someone who's going to match us in a vibrational level. Which means that through that process, pile one, there is going to be potential for heartbreak. But the suffering that comes with it is what we're focusing on here. We do not have to continue to suffer. Okay, people are always going to keep peopling, just like life is always going to keep lifing. There's no getting around that. There's so many outside circumstances that we cannot control. But if we continue to manifest certain situations and cyclical situations into our lives, then that means that there's something internally that we have to face within ourselves that keeps us in this cycle. We have to do the digging, right? We have to be willing to go to the depths of our emotions and understand what the blueprint is that's being printed for us. Yeah, and there's success here. And the other thing is that as you heal this and as you face this part of yourself, you're actually going to be setting others up for success in this type of healing as well. So you could be a healer by nature. Okay, you could be a healer, but I do feel like with the 10 of Cups coming out, it's sort of showing you like you've overcome, because the 9 of Cups is an interesting card in the Tarot Marseille, and I'm feeling it in the reverse, and that's what they're saying here. When it's in the reverse, just like the 9 of Coins, it's an illusion, right? The 9 of Coins is an illusion of the physical realm. The 9 of Cups is an illusion of the emotional realm. And so the 10 of Cups is mastery over the illusion and an understanding of our internal well-being and our eternal emotional state. And so there is a process that will happen here, but there is success. We must first deal with feeling stuck. Why are we feeling stuck? Why are we feeling we cannot control ourselves in this situation? We're so worried about controlling how others show up, or trying to manipulate others to show up in a way that feels good for us. And we might not feel it that way, or we might not see it that way, but that's what happens. You know, we oftentimes as the victim believe that we're not trying to manipulate others, but it's because we were raised in manipulation. Everybody manipulates each other. And that means that we might try to say something a certain way in order to get someone to respond. We might show up or do something a certain way in order for them to respond. And we'll think it through in our heads. We'll be like, oh my gosh, if I do this, then they have to do this because that's the only option. Until they don't do that. And then we're sitting there like, what the heck? That was the only option, because that was the only option that we would have gone with. But we're basing someone else's actions based on what we would do and not who they are. So it's like looking at life through rose-colored glasses, expecting everyone to show up as we would show up, which is not how it is. That's not the reality of the situation. Yeah, there's fortune here. Look at this. We have 10, 10, 10. There's a fortune here, but Isn't it interesting? We have the sun, which is showing like, I'm not clear on this yet. Like, I want to have love. I want to have connection. I want to have support in my life. But right now, facing internally, right? And the Wheel of Fortune is tied to Jupiter. It's also connected to both Sagittarius and Pisces. This card is also connected to the sacral chakra. And the sacral chakra is talking about my right to love. Okay, we have a lot of Pisces energy here as well. And Pisces is the only other zodiac besides Gemini that's represented by dual personalities. There's the really high highs and there's the really low lows. There's the light and the shadow. And we're talking about the shadow here. Okay, so we see this energy coming in. But right now, the fortune being turned is the feeling of being stuck. And so the feeling of being stuck is bringing this seeming injustice into your life. You see her scales are pointed towards the sun. Fortuna is pointed where the sun is. Okay, so this is the problem here. Okay, if you want to look at it as a problem, but this is the focus. Let's name it that way. This is the focus. The sun in the reverse, feeling inadequate, feeling incapable of shining a light on oneself, feeling unable to step beyond the emotions that this is bringing. My ego, right? Sun represents ego. My ego is bruised, therefore I am incapable of healing. But that's the illusion. You have the power to overcome the emotional illusion, which is the emotional ego. And that's what your soul wants you to hear in regards to the shadow message today. And I know it's hard, but you know, justice in the reverse is also an interesting card because it reminds us not to do unto others what they have done unto us, even if we're doing it from a back end way. You know, and as an empath, I can understand this entirely. We'll come about it an entirely different way. The victim mindset, right? Well, it's not manipulating someone if I'm just trying to get them to respond like a normal human being should respond. But we're already coming from a manipulative mindset. And it's not saying that you're a super manipulative or toxic person. That's not what this is. But remembering that we were raised in a society that manipulates everybody. So what makes us feel like we're going to be free from that? If that's the societal construct that we were brought into. We just have to look at it. The truth of the situation is we would naturally take on that same energy, even if we alter it to fit into our heroine energy, like the to be the hero, right? To be the heroine. There we go. To be the hero in the situation. We're going to alter it so that our emotional ego sees it from a place of doing good rather than for what it truly is. So we have to honor how we're showing up. And right now there's a rise and a fall, but we're seeing the life cycles, trying to close out this circle. We're trying to close out this cycle in life. And sometimes the main message here is just to really accept life's ups and downs. There's so much out there that we can't control, but if we're blocking our heart, if we're blocking ourselves off, then the only person that we're doing a disservice to is ourselves. When in our minds, we're thinking, oh, you don't deserve my light. You don't deserve my light. You don't deserve my light. So it's everybody else's loss. But what we're not realizing is that we're isolating ourselves and ultimately hurting ourselves. And that will come back and get us. Right when we're not expecting it to, it will come back and get us. It always does. That's just how it works. Right now, you're living in a limited space and this difficulty in facing reality in the open, right? Having people show up the way that they're showing up and having difficulty accepting them as they are. That's the difficulty here, is accepting people as they are. Like, I would never act that way, so why do they get to act that way? That's not your business. That at the end of the day, like, you can't change that because you don't know what their life experiences are that led them to acting that way or that led them to feeding that wolf within themselves, just the same as they don't know that about you, right? So we expect others to see our story. We expect others to see ourselves from our whole, from everything that we've gone through. Like, we've met you, we say hello and we expect our hello to carry the weight of our story. but it doesn't. Just the same as another person's hello doesn't carry the weight of their story. We're seeing their life through our perspective, and that's not the truth, right? That is, it's realizing that there's so much more behind the scenes that's going on that we couldn't possibly understand because we didn't go through what they went through. That's why this journey is sometimes teetering on a double-edged sword, because it's like, how do we come from a place of true unconditional love while at the same time just being in a state of acceptance? But true love is acceptance. It's not the invitation. We've confused acceptance with invitation, and that's why I feel this is such an important message. And this is showing too with the sun in the reverse. There's an immaturity that's coming here because of the two kids. This means that this is reflectant of a wound that came from childhood. And it could be, we do have both the mother wound and the father wound present. But it could just be that this was something that your parents put on you. Like, they expected you to show up a certain way because that's what they expected of themselves. Right? So they put themselves on this unattainable pedestal and they expected you to follow footsteps with them. And that's just an example here. It could be anything, right? It could be that they were trying to live vicariously through you, and so they put even higher expectations on you. And thus your reality began to get altered through the eyes of your parents' expectations. So that expectation is still holding on to you, but now it's through your eyes onto others. This is something that's very intense, and it's too energetic to feel comfortable with. You could have had an absent father. You could have had an absent mother. I do feel like this really does mirror the ability to nurture and feel your emotions. So you could have had a father who worked all the time and was not present in your life, but because he worked all the time, when he was around, he couldn't deal with your emotions because he didn't know how to deal with his own. And so he projected onto you that it was inadequate for you to feel. So we see that reflection of this. This could have been a very harsh mother, a very overbearing mother, who herself was very emotional and expected you to show up and handle her emotions, while she at the same time closed off the door to handle your emotions. So this is going in and giving yourself space and letting yourself be safe to feel whatever it is that's come up. Yes, you've had some very, very, very difficult situations. I am not arguing that. Source is not arguing that. Your guides and your angels are not arguing that. It has been rough. It has been very difficult. And there have been times when it's just like felt like, what is even the point? There's all these people in the world and they're all just a bunch of jerks and they're all just a bunch of crazies that don't get it. But see, when we think that, and we believe that with our heart of hearts because we felt that, then that's all we're going to continue to bring into our lives. And so the ups and the downs are incredibly overwhelming. There's these incredible highs that we feel so elated at, and then these incredible lows where we just feel like the whole world closes off. And the point of this journey is to find a median area where no matter what happens, the ups and downs, we don't go too high and too low. We stay somewhere around a median line, right? And that way then we're learning that it's okay to feel happy and elated, but not to the point that our entire life is standing on that as a foundation, when we know that it comes and it goes. We have to be the foundation in our life. Wow. Okay. So let's get some more on this. I wasn't expecting to get this deep, but I should have known better. Shadow messages are very deep. So cardinal energy, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. We have instigation, bravery, and a pioneering spirit. Light your own spark. Let yourself instigate this investigation into yourself. And this is going to take a lot of bravery and courage. This does not come without its hardships, but it does come with the promise of better days and the ability to deal with difficulties in a much more balanced sense. Whoa. Radical honesty flipping over here. Oh, and we've got wishful expectations underneath that. Radical honesty. To believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. Right? So denying of the self. This is about being completely honest with yourself. Am I putting on armor just for the sake of protecting myself from pain? Or is this because this is what I need to do for myself? And it really does feel like this is to protect yourself from the pain because of the suffering that you've endured. But seeing again that the suffering is the illusions of emotion. Okay, it's the convincing of our emotional ego that every time we go through pain, we have to suffer. Pain is inevitable. No matter what it is, pain is inevitable in life. It's just a part of this life. Just like nobody gets out alive, it's a part of life. Pain is inevitable. Wishful expectations. Acknowledge the smoke and mirrors in your life for what they are. Don't bend over backwards for people who aren't going to bend over backwards for you, but also allow yourself to bend over backwards for yourself. Not the emotional ego, but the heart and the soul. Do whatever it takes to connect with that part of yourself. That's where the power comes from. But don't get caught up in the wishful thinking. Oh, if they only showed up the way that I expected them to. If they only showed up the way that I would have shown up. That's wishful thinking. Because they're only going to show up the way that they show up. Because that's their way of doing things. That's nothing that anyone, ourselves included, can control. Home. Make your body be where a harmonious balance of love, strength, light, and pleasure lives. Reconnecting the body and the mind. And this is very powerful because this helps us to be present in those situations that are painful. When we have a good connection between our body and our mind, it means we can come back to this moment with our breath. We can come back and observe where we are. When we observe where we are, we maintain and regulate that balance within ourselves. Wolverine, you're a lot tougher than you think you are. And this is twofold too, because Wolverines are pretty fierce, right? I mean, they are. They're pretty fierce animals. And it's just reminding yourself that it's okay to be tough, but you don't have to lash out at everyone and everything. Right? Including yourself. You don't have to lash out at yourself. But let yourself stand in that power and empower yourself. And that comes through that radical honesty. We have cheetah energy. Get clear on your intentions. Stay focused and move quickly to achieve your goal. What do you want, pile one? What do you want? Not wishful thinking, right? Wishful expectations, not that. Like, oh, I wish. No, the thing is what do you want? You want stable love. You want stable connections. You want people who are as loyal as you, who show up the same way you do. What do you want? That's the thing here. We've got equality with Seahorse flying out of the deck over here. Okay? You want the equality in the relationships. You're done with the turmoil and the turbulence and just that feeling like you don't belong. But you have to get clear on what it is that you want and then ask yourself, what is it within me that is calling these turbulent relationships to myself? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to heal? Right? And this is coming from the inner child, purifying that. And sometimes it's not anything that we even really need to heal. Sometimes we just need to give our inner child a voice to say all the things that we didn't get to say. And for us to lend a listening ear to that part of ourselves, whether that's us saying it out loud and just hearing it, or maybe us journaling it or recording it and playing it back to ourselves and saying, I'm here for you. I just want to hear you out. I want to listen to you because I want you to feel like you have a voice. Sometimes it's as easy as that. And maybe that's not easy. Because it's like, oh my gosh, if I say the things that I really felt at that time, like who's going to chastise me? Who's going to punish me? Well, if you're saying it to yourself, then make sure you make a promise to yourself not to chastise and punish yourself. Yeah, finding stability. Look, we've got a lot of children coming out here. The little baby on top of the turtle here asleep. The child down here in the ocean swimming with the turtles. Stability. We're recreating a stable environment for our children, our inner child, to feel safe. Why? Because, and I see it, it's this one here, the leadership card. Because you're meant to lead others in this. Okay? You're meant to lead others to find their own inner stability. But we cannot help others if we don't first help ourselves. And that's what feels like is coming through here. All right, let's get one of these. What else, source? Yeah. You want your soul tribe. It is a very clear energy. We have the 11th house. Build your community. This is your community. Not the people who you had to spend time with. Not the people that you were forced into hanging out with. This is your community that you get to build. Right? But the only way for you to bring those people in is to be authentically, truly who you are and not worry about how that's going to affect others. And sometimes that's the most difficult challenge as well. If you like, there's a guy online, and I know I've recommended him before, but check out Julian himself. Okay, on YouTube. He is a phenomenal person. I love him so much. His videos are so motivational and inspiring, and he talks about that. If you want to bring in your community, why would you be that person that's like, oh, someone's like, I like yellow, and you hate yellow, but you're like, yeah, me too, I love yellow, when you really hate it. You know, like, that's just you not being authentic, right? And I know that seems so simple, and it is. But sometimes it's the most simple things that elude us because we like to make complex energy. We like to drape it on everything in our lives. This has to be super complex. This has to be super complex. And when it's simple, we're like, huh? So, 5th house. Let's have some fun. Right? Not taking everything so seriously. Have some fun. Let yourself be vulnerable. Look, they're letting themselves be vulnerable to be painted here. But this is coming with that sense of vulnerability, having that confidence, that courage, that bravery to step out into the world and be who you are, right? Don't worry about what other people think or what they feel or how it affects them. That's their problem. That's not yours, right? That isn't your business. That's their business. They have to tend to their business. Retap into your magical self. It's going to take time, but it will be worth it, right? Confidence, again, yes, thank you, source, thank you. To rebuild that confidence and not question the validity of who you are. And stop trying to make the whole world show up the way that you need them to. You have to show up for you the way that you need to. And then from that, others will show up in that as well. Let's get some shadow aspects on this reading, source. Since it is a shadow message that your soul needs you to hear today for pile number 1, what are some shadow aspects that would like to come through today, source? Okay, I feel like one more. Oh, they said 2. Okay, 2 more. 1 more. Whoa, okay, yeah. And if you hear any noise, my dog is underneath my feet under the table and she is snoring. She snores so loud. That is her. We have crumbling. What you've built feels like it's falling apart. It's okay. You have the strength to build anew. So letting it crumble, letting it fall, right? Not getting caught up in that this has to be what I build my life on because it's already very turbulent. But the foundation is you. It's not the ideas. It's you. And when you own that you're the foundation, then what you're building becomes unshakable. On the bottom, we have bad timing, too little, too late. Not ready to love again. And this is what we've been feeling this time. It's too little, too late for people to show up. They have nothing to offer me. I don't want to love again. I'm not ready to. Right? Okay, so maybe you're not ready to love people out there again, and that's okay. But you have to start by loving yourself. We've got Taurus energy, trust, patience, and sensuality, and self-care, self-worth, self-value. Okay, coming back to the self. Cuts both ways. We've been talking about how painful this is. Good and bad aspects. Mixed blessing and division. We forget, and that's what I was talking about, like being the victim. We forget that sometimes we're also a manipulator because we don't want to look at it that way. We want to see ourselves as the victim, and we're not actually looking and owning all of our actions. And that is oftentimes the biggest trigger, is when we have to look at our own manipulative actions. Like I remember with my narcissistic ex, like he used to give me the silent treatment for days. And so when he started talking to me again, then I would give him the silent treatment for days. It's like, oh, so you're talking to me now? Oh, well, I'm not ready to talk. Well, that's manipulation, because he was using it as manipulation. So I was using it as manipulation back. Even though I was a victim in the situation, it was a very toxic situation. It was abusive. It was everything a relationship and a connection should not be, right? It was like using his own tactics against him, which usually always backfired on me, but not seeing it that way, right? Because it was like, well, I have a right to act this way because that's the way that you are. Okay? So just remembering, it's like we have to own our own actions. And I couldn't own that until after I'd left the relationship and I started healing and doing the shadow work. Facing it. Something isn't right. Don't be afraid to find out the truth. It will set you free. And honestly, pile one, after I'd faced that part of myself, I was able to face the other times that I'd shown up and been manipulative in my life. And that helped me to heal and integrate a part of myself that I was so embarrassed by, right? No one wants to own those parts of ourselves, but it's imperative that we integrate those, because if we don't, then we never feel completely whole. When we are already a whole being, the light and the shadow exists within us all, the good and the bad. So let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book, The Guardian Angel. Look at these cards. And it says, Origo. It's interesting because I got like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I don't know why I was hearing that, but I feel like that's that energy of there's something here that's coming from a wound from your parents. And it's been passed on. So you're not the only one that's carrying it. It's been passed on. All right. So the guardian angel says, when the star most grateful to Aphrodite recalls the day from the Cimmerian realms, bringing with it light and beauty, on the wavy hills that welcome flowers and docile pastures, the angel is revealed to the generous eye. The industrious angel creates connection and upholds the brow of those who ask for the company of the meek, refreshment, and protection. The goddess who more than any other moves slowly along circular paths. It's a process. The angel dispels the storms of the soul and the turmoil of the heart agitated by opposing passions, by inviting sincerity and salvation to the table of every creature. The angel unites in the same nature that the ether that burns in the highest heavens, and the red sturdy wood that gives rise to life bathed in rain. Without a guardian and slave to necessity and need, the mortal who lives will feed on his fathers and mothers. Wow. As eternal Kronos will do with his sons and daughters. When the light is extinguished and the shadow swallows up the world, and with it the celestial creatures that silently watch, the black angel castrates and devours, and, around his tree, takes away fatigue and confidence from those who by day it protected so carefully. So again, coming back to that, confidence is key here, but isn't it this energy here? Without a guardian and a slave. Either or, light and shadow, both sides of the same coin, right? To necessity and need. Okay, there's necessity and then the need. And they're two different energies. If we look at them, there's like a basic right, which is a necessity, but then there's a need, like feeling like, oh, I have to have this. it becomes an obsession, right? The mortal who lives will feed on his fathers and mothers. And we're talking about the mother and the father wound here. The same as Kronos will do with his sons and daughters. And if you don't know, that's the story of Kronos, right? Like Kronos, he fed on his sons and daughters because he was afraid that one of his children was going to grow up to be stronger than him. And I think, I'm not sure, it's been a while since I've read the story, but I think that's where the story of Zeus came. His mother wrapped him up, and it might not be Zeus, but wrapped up one of the babies and fed Kronos a rock instead of the baby. And then that's when Zeus came into being, and Zeus is the one that overpowered Kronos. And so I think that's how the story goes. Like I said, it's been a while since I've read it, but the message here is the generous guardian nurtures and pacifies. Protection without trust is the prison of the soul. So the shadow message that your soul needs you to hear today is to step out of the prison of the soul and into this place of protecting and nurturing of the self. Wow, this was an incredibly long message. I wasn't expecting it to go this long, but we're just going to go with it. It was a very powerful message as well. This is what I see here for you, pile number 1. If you felt like this was your reading, you know what? I'm going to say leave the 2 swords emojis, the one that goes like this. Leave the 2 swords emoji down below and say, even though life cuts both ways, I have the opportunity to free myself by pouring back into my own cup. And if it resonated with you, it means so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you are interested in supporting the channel further, please check out the description box. It'll have everything that you need. With that, I do want to take a quick second to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this incredibly powerful message. And until next time, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice with Uranus on it, or if you were drawn to this $2 bill, or if you happen to be drawn to this card during the shuffle, then this is going to be your message on the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. First, I would like to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And for those of you that happen to be new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic selves. And if the messages happen to resonate, it would really mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below, knowing that we do things differently around here. A quick disclaimer. Because we are getting the shadow message for you to hear today, this can and probably pretty highly will come with potential trigger warnings in it. I would like to preface the reading with this, so that way going in, you are aware that this could bring out some triggers, and I will make sure that I do mention that on the description box as well. So let's go ahead and hop to it and find out the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Pile number 2, source, what messages would you like to bring forth? The shadow message that your soul needs you to hear today. Pile number 2, source, what would you like to share with us? Okay, so we've got the 6th house. We've got Aquarius energy and Mercury. It's interesting because I got this energy right off the bat that there's something here where it's like, with your health, like, I just don't care. Like, I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to face it. Yeah. It's like, if I don't acknowledge it, then it's not gonna be a thing. But that's not really how health works. I mean, you know, we can definitely heal from things and let our body heal from things. There are definitely some things that we need to be honest about. I know that's really specific and there are other messages, but that was the very first message that came through. Is like really being brave enough to go get that checkup, being brave enough to get checked out. Like, it's really terrifying when you don't know and you're waiting to find out, absolutely. But it's even more terrifying should something escalate from not getting checked out when it could have been prevented or at least put into a manageable state by going and doing the hard thing right now. Right? Sometimes the hard thing and the right thing are the same thing. And that's what I'm getting with this. It's really interesting because with Aquarius next to the 6th house, I'm getting this like, I just don't want to care. I just don't want to be bothered with it. Like, maybe you're too busy. Maybe there's too many other things going on right now. But this really feels like, if I just let it go, well, it won't be a big deal until it becomes a big deal. And that is one of the first messages coming out. Now, the other thing is that I'm just really getting health related here. Like, it's interesting because the 6th house does deal with coworkers, our daily routine, and, you know, small animals, our pets, and things along those lines. But I really am getting like your health. There's something here about your health that is either super obsessive or not, like you're being nonchalant with. And the goal here is to be open and honest with yourself and to really allow yourself to adapt. You know, there are going to be, if you're really obsessive with your health and say you go to the gym every day for an hour, but say somewhere along the line you get injured and you can't do the normal routine that you have. Look, no one wants to talk about regression, but regression is a thing. And it's something that we need to be more aware of on our journey. We cannot always be in a progressive mind. We cannot always make our bodies be progressive either. Sometimes there will be days and there will be months even where we have regression, where we're just not as strong as we once were. And I'll never forget this. I saw a comment once. This was not on my channel. This was on another, I think it was on a yoga channel that I watched. And Charlie follows, like, I love her, and I know I mentioned her not that long ago. Definitely check her out. She has things that she's just very motivational, and she's super positive and just a beautiful light. But I remember, like, she posted pictures of when she was able to do a forward fold on a block on the highest height and still touch the ground. And then it was like either a year or 2 years later, she was barely able to do a forward fold flat against her legs. And she was talking about regression. And I remember seeing this comment in there that was like, somebody said, like, we should never go backwards. And that always impacted me, but this mindset exists. And sometimes it exists without us knowing that it exists. And the reason that this is coming up, because I feel like that's where you're at. Maybe this is something that's running or ruling your life without you realizing it, is that you always have to be on the forward motion. Like, there can never be a moment of pause. There can never be a backward step. Because if I'm going backwards, I'm doing something wrong. But sometimes the backward step, it's like Mercury retrograde. It's actually a slowing down period so that we can realign with what matters the most to us and to make sure that we're actually being very clear about where we're going. And it's interesting because regression, especially with our health, is something that can happen when we're injured or when we get sick or when something out of the blue happens that might be outside of our control. Oftentimes, if we get something as an ailment within our body, it is because it's our soul telling us that we need to slow down, stop, and do some healing and turn inward because our soul has been misaligned. And so this is interesting that this would come out on this particular message because it's saying the soul is in misalignment right now with the journey. How can we bring ourselves back into a state of alignment so that we can come back into a state of health? This is not something that you want to ignore, because the more that we ignore it, then the more that misalignment starts to misalign other areas of our lives. And the reason for this is because, again, it's to force us to pause so that we can reassess where we're going. But if we're on a forward motion and we're trying to push through and control things, it will only escalate from there. And so that's what I'm feeling from the dice here. It's interesting because I was getting really out of breath while I was talking. And so this could have to do with breath. This could have to do with your lungs or like something like asthma. I heard COPD. I actually don't know what that is, but it came through pretty loud. So we're just going to go with it. Yeah, I just feel like all out of breath. like I just ran a marathon or something. And you know, the thing is that with our breath especially, is that we take for granted how easy it is to breathe sometimes, and till we're unable to breathe. And we recognize just how precious breath is. And that can be a powerful tool as well for healing. Breath. Re-expanding elasticity within our lungs, creating resilience, holding our breath for a certain count, releasing and inhaling for the same count, holding our breath in between those releases, or the exhale and the inhale, so that we can build resilience. There's a lot that comes with that. So this could also be symbolic to life, is that the pause is where resilience comes from. Wow. This is already a really, really deep message. So Source, what messages do you have for pile number 2? The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. For pile number 2, Source. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Okay, thank you. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. It's almost like as if, as a child, your family put it on you that if, like, you weren't allowed to take a nap or you weren't allowed to rest because resting meant you were lazy or being lazy. But resting is a natural part of life. Like, it's as important as activity. And sometimes we forget that. And sometimes we also go on the other side of where that becomes all that we do and we are being lazy. But I feel like this is just that reminder that you're not in that energy of being lazy when your body's asking you to slow down. You know, our body shares wisdom that we ourselves can never comprehend. But when we tap into that wisdom, it will help us ebb and flow with the natural cycles of life. Yeah. On the bottom of the deck. Okay. So this shows me that there's a broken heart. And this is where it's almost like I was hurt really bad by someone romantically. This is a romantic broken heart. This is, you know, like someone who broke it off with you, cheated on you, someone who was a player, someone who played you for a fool, whatever it was, okay? It's something that's really hurtful, really, really bad. And so instead of focusing on healing, I'm focusing on building wealth and fortune in my life. And this has become the only thing that I can think about. I'm getting a weird headache right now. It's right at my third eye, but it's just above my third eye. And it feels like a tension headache, to be honest. It feels like there's a lot of stress and tension, like as if you're furrowing your brow a lot. Like almost forgot how to smile. Like I'm constantly have a scowl on my face or constantly have like an angry look on my face. Like you could have been given an RBF. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Right? But that's the energy that's coming in. And it's because of this broken heart that has driven you to saying, well, fine, I will just focus solely on building up my career or buying the house that I want or building the life that I want. And I'm not going to worry about anything else. And so because of that wound from your childhood, the childhood wound of you're not allowed to rest, you're not allowed to take breaks, that also included I'm not allowed to step back to heal and to grieve something that really hurt. So this is a need for grief. Not feeling like you have an option here. Interesting. Yeah. So instead, you're being really cruel to yourself. This is a message of being really cruel to get. It's almost like whipping yourself on the back. Like, go, go, go. We got to go. We got to keep going. If we stop, then we're failing. If we stop, then all those emotions are going to rush in. Yep, all those emotions are going to rush in. And that's what's scary. So this is feeling like as a child, you were never given space. Regardless about how you felt or anything, it was just like you were never given space. It was like if you were finished with your homework, instead of being given time to like play games or read your favorite books or to watch your favorite shows or just to maybe take a nap and in bed, it was like you were made to do chores. Like, oh, your homework's done, great, we need to clean the house. And it wasn't just like a let's tidy everything up. This feels like it was like drill sergeant, we have to do this, this, and this. Like, your bed has to be made, and if your bed's not made, then you're gonna get punished and you have to do extra chores all week. Like, we have to clean the garage on Saturday, every Saturday. Like, why is this happening? Why can't we just, it's not even that bad, but for some reason, something that would naturally take like 15 minutes to clean, this really feels like this, you were forced to drag that out to look productive for hours, even though it could have been finished in a short amount of time. And that has psychologically affected you for how you show up in your day-to-day now. And so when your psyche is saying, I need a break, I need to pause, that's triggering that inner child, that fear of, oh my gosh, if we pause, we're going to be punished. And your psyche is saying, but we need to pause to grieve. We need to pause to reflect on what we went through. But instead, this is like being the whipper, right? You're whipping yourself. It's like I have to whip myself back into shape. And feeling like I don't have an option. The only option is to keep going. Because if I don't keep going, then something bad or something catastrophic is going to happen. And the only thing that I can focus on, look, even both of these characters are focused on the Wheel of Fortune. The only thing I can focus on is the material world and building a fortune, whether that's money, a home, a car, a career, life, whatever. But there's this element where maybe you've been prescribed medicine for migraines, or you have to take sleeping pills just so that you can actually go to sleep at night. And even then, I feel like your mind is constantly going, constantly running. Like you're running over tomorrow's to-do list. You're running over next week, what you need to do next week. And, you know, I know this sounds like, oh yeah, that's such a hippie mindset, like whatever. But tomorrow isn't even here, right? That's tomorrow. Let tomorrow figure itself out. Next week isn't here. When it gets here, let it figure itself out. I feel like that's something that's too lackadaisical for you to embrace. But that's really what your soul wants you to hear, is that we need to let go of this drill sergeant energy of being so cruel to ourselves, and hoping that in this cruelty, we are going to find some sense of stability or happiness. Because in reality, it's you're trying to, and I keep hearing that, I'm trying to whip myself into shape. And so that could be why I was getting the health energy as well too, is like I'm trying to whip myself into shape. And so going to the gym for like an hour a day, whereas that is admirable, is it maintainable for the long run? And when your body does need a break, or when it does have a state of regression, which is the ebb part of life, ebbing will eventually happen in all of life. We cannot always be in a state of constant flow. There will be ebbs that come up as well. So when you eventually hit an ebb, And say like you injure your knee and your knee is bruised. Just say it's bruised, right? Your knee is bruised. And it's interesting they want me to use the knee as a symbol here because the knee actually represents our emotional ego. The ego as itself, being too drawn by our ego, being too driven by our ego. And it's funny because the knee is like when the knee goes out or when your knee is bothering you, it's hard to do anything, right? But just say like you bruise your knee. And so instead of taking a moment to rest and to recuperate, you're like, oh no, I'm going to go on the bike and I'm going to use the bike instead. And so you're still putting pressure on that bruise and the bruise gets exacerbated. And when it gets exacerbated, now maybe you pull a tendon or you pull a muscle and that makes healing even longer. And it could even go in as far as really harming the knee in a way, you know, on our knees. When we talk about in yoga, our knees is like, that's the one thing we don't mess with. And so again, as a symbol to come up, right? They're saying like, this is the one thing you don't want to mess with is the knees, because the knees are very sensitive, but they're also incredibly difficult to heal. And I myself have a knee injury that happened 2 years ago. I couldn't tell you what happened, but I have a knee injury from 2 years ago and it still comes up. Still to this day, it still comes up. Right? It's an irritation that comes up. And so it's like on those days, I know that I've pushed myself too far. And it's not that I'm not gaining strength back. I am, but the knee is a very hard thing to heal. And so for them to want to use that as an example, they're saying that this is something that is not just going to go away. This is going to keep getting bigger. This is going to keep getting more emotional. This is going to keep getting more overwhelming until it puts you into a state of either severe health. 1 second. Either that severe health risk, or it's going to be where the doctor literally basically cuts everything out. And so it's like dealing with it now, which now makes sense as to that energy we were getting from the dice. Dealing with it now helps to shorten the healing time, the recovery time, and everything that goes with it, instead of it becoming something that is now out of control and the only thing that you can focus on in your life rather than the things that really matter to you. Okay, so let's get some oracles out here. Pisces. Intimacy, intuition, and compassion. So I do feel like you've been intuitively feeling this for a while, but oftentimes when we're stuck in the emotional ego, it's hard to actually receive the downloads from the intuition. So you might have like gotten inspiration here and there about this, and then you're like, oh no, like I can't do that. Like I can't take that break. But also with Pisces and compassion coming through, it's talking about to have that compassion for self. And Pisces deals with a lot of guilt and blame. Like that's something that comes up with Pisces energy is guilt and blame and self-mutilation in some cases. I'm not talking about like morbid mutilation. I'm talking about like self-mutilation in the way that we talk to ourselves and the way that we treat ourselves, right? Again, the drill sergeant. We're drilling it into ourselves. We have to XYZ. And so healing that is going to help you come back into this place of having a true intimate connection with yourself. And this is the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, is that we're seeking that compassion, that kindness, and that self-love. On the bottom, yeah, destined to have the North Node. Like this is a part of your life is to ease back a little, to not be so go. Like I have to be on the rise all the time, but it also feels very uncomfortable, right? It feels very uncomfortable because you were in an environment for so long where this is just what we did. And so when this is all that you've done your whole life, like how do you step away from that? The only way to do it is to do the complete opposite of what you're used to doing. And it's going to feel so weird, but necessary. Look at this. We've got spirit self coming through. Be who you are as you are. Reconnecting with the self, which we got with the Pisces energy coming in as well. It's reconnecting with the self. And, you know, Pisces is the ancestor, if you will, of the zodiac, the elder of the zodiac. And they've lived through all the other zodiacs, right? And every zodiac sign has a mix and match of many of the other zodiacs in them as well. But when we look at just the wheel itself, the Pisces has gone through the whole wheel of life and has now come to the end of life, where it's seeing things from a much different perspective. You know, when you're 100 years old, you don't see things through the same eyes as you did when you were 20 years old. Why? Because you've lived a lot of life. Like, now it's not your whole life in front of you because your whole life is behind you. But what if we adapted that our whole life is behind us type attitude and arrived in life that way? It would give us a much clearer perspective on who we are in this moment, rather than trying to impress people for who we think we need to be, and allow ourselves that space that I feel your soul is craving. Just space and downtime. Not with the TV going, not on your phone, just in silence. Maybe sitting outside for a while. You know, can you make a half an hour a day a ritual to go and just sit outside without any distractions? If you have family, just tell them, like, look, this is my me time. You're going to have a half an hour for you time right now as well. And I'm going to set this timer, and I don't want anybody to bother me. We're not going to answer our phones or anything. It can wait a half an hour. And if you're like, no, nothing can wait a half an hour, well, that's a good indication that this is exactly what you need to do. Right? Because even emergencies can still wait a half an hour. Okay? I mean, unless one of the kids hurts themselves and you need to go right then and there. But what I'm saying is, like, that's the thing. It's like, if you make everything an emergency, then you'll never have you time at all in life. So it's honoring, like, what is truly an emergency. And if it can't wait a half an hour, like, then it has to be like a really crazy emergency, right? So we have Kiwi. Look, I cannot make this up. This is what I was just saying. Do a walking meditation each day for the next week. And this card talks about going out in nature and doing a walking meditation in nature. So again, this is just a straight confirmation from Source saying, like, it's time for you to get outside, spend time outside, and not being bogged down by the priorities of life. You know, we think, oh, we're resting when we're watching TV, or, oh, we're resting when I'm not doing anything. But the truth is that rest really comes from space. And space means that there's no distractions. There's no nothing keeping us away from what could be potentially be rising up in our mind. We need to deal with that, which is much easier said than done. I know. Yeah, look at that. We've got Beaver with work. So again, this confirmation that there's a lot of work that's going on here. But how can we step away from the constant? How can we step away from just pushing and pushing and pushing ourselves to sheer exhaustion and coming into that space of rest and recuperation? There's nothing in life that is so important that you have to work yourself to the bone. And even if you've convinced yourself of that, like, that's still the illusion that you're believing. Even if society says that's how it has to be, that's still just the illusion, right? You have to allow yourself space and time to recuperate. And especially with you, Pile 2, because there's this essence of a broken heart here. And it's like you haven't grieved. And if you don't grieve, eventually that grief will turn into the emotional ego, and it will start to control aspects of your life that you never thought were possible for being controlled from this place of hurt and this place of potential suffering. Yeah, so we have Tarantula with connection on the bottom. Exactly. I didn't even know this was on the bottom. Just what we were saying with the broken heart, which we see with the Knight of Wands in the reverse. This is something that's weighing you down. Eventually, these tarantulas are going to make a web so thick that you're not going to be able to get out of it. And at first, you can't feel it. At first, you're numb to it, but then eventually it becomes, it's immobilizing. So it's important for you to do this healing. It's important for you to face this part of yourself. All right, let's get, whoa, thank you, Source. On the bottom, we have trine. Yeah, things are magically aligning. So when you do this, you're going to see that things are going to start falling into place for you. Sometimes we have to let things fall apart to fall into place. That's a part of it. I can't remember who said this. Marianne, I don't remember her last name. But she says, the ego says, once I find peace, everything will fall into place. And the soul says, or no, what is it? The ego says, once everything falls into place, I'll find peace. But the soul says, once I find peace, everything falls into place. Yeah, that's what it says. The ego's trying to control everything. And if I can control everything, then I'll be able to feel good about myself or where I'm at. But the soul trusts and surrenders and lets things fall as they may, knowing that the only thing that we can control and the only thing that we can trust in is ourselves and the divine. And it's not really a place where a lot of people come from, but that's where we find our true value and strength. So strength coming out for you here. Yeah, this is where we're grounding you in your strength. This is where your good luck comes from. This is where your fortune comes from. Stepping away from the fear of not being enough, of not doing enough, of not seeming like you're doing enough, of not appearing a certain way. What's on the other side of fear? Strength, love, acceptance, truth. So coming into that place of embracing yourself and knowing that things will work out if you let go of the fear, right? Look at that. Behind that, we have illumination and determination and ghost behind that. So something from the past is playing a part in the fear right now. Okay? But on the other side of fear is your success, your understanding, your illumination. Angel, stop. Angel, stop. All right, I'm going to get some shadow aspects for you, pile 2. So, Source, what are some shadow aspects for pile number 2? Whoa. Okay. I feel like one more wants to come out. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. The shadow aspect, Source. Okay, a fierce temper. Interesting. Has too many anger issues and dark moods, abusive. So grief, right? When we get to the anger stage, if we don't feel into the anger stage, that becomes who we are, right? We begin to identify with our anger, our hurt, our pain, and we begin to project that out onto everyone. And so that's a part of the shadow aspect. You see here, there's this broken mirror. He can't see his reflection clearly because there's too many pieces. Things are not falling into place. Why? Because there's no peace. And then we have bad timing, too little, too late, taken, not ready to love again. So we see that what's playing a part here is that the broken heart has put you in a space where you're just not ready to invite people in, and that's okay. But if you're also not ready to face yourself, you'll never be ready to invite another person in. So we have all talk, silver-tongued devil, big flirt, no action, and player. And this is confirmation of what I felt earlier, that this is someone who could have been a player, played you for a fool, who didn't think that you had it in you to be more than what they saw you as. Whatever that is. And that doesn't matter. That's their business. That's not yours. Okay. So we've got distorted desire. Conscious desire rarely satisfies the unconscious need driving it. Exactly. So there's a desire to want to appear a certain way. That's the unconscious desire, or the need, the unconscious need driving it. I need to be seen as productive. I need to be seen as successful. I need to be seen as enter in whatever it is. Right? The need, it's not a necessity. It's this illusion that you're holding on to, thinking that if I fulfill this illusion, then I will be seen as worthy. But you have to truly honor and accept and see yourself as worthy in order for that to ever be the truth in your life. So it's starting there, starting with that. We have honeybee. Let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority in this situation. So coming back to that passion, that compassion and that forgiveness, right? Forgiving what had happened, right? It doesn't mean that it was okay. It doesn't mean that they deserve to treat you that way. None of that is true. But when we forgive the situation, we forgive others, and we, more importantly, forgive ourselves, then it takes all that pressure and that cage that we built around ourselves away, and we free ourselves from it. And, you know, forgiveness is also saying, I can't remember who said this, but forgiveness is saying, I can't change the situation. Because we can't. We can't go back in time and change the situation. So forgiveness is an acknowledgement that I can't change the situation, but I also no longer want to hold this or let it hold me. Shadow period. Yeah, proceed with caution. This is a very difficult situation for you. Okay, again, we're not invalidating your experience. That's not at all what's happening here. This is a very tough situation. This is a very hard situation to go through. It is very heartbreaking as well. But it's interesting that you chose the $2 bill, because 2 and your pile 2 represents trusting in the process, right? Trust in the process. Trust as things unfold. Childish. Someone has to be the adult in the room. Maybe the term should be grow up or get out. So this is, again, that energy, something from childhood, but also showing that there was a childish act. Okay, there was something that was very childish that happened, and there was a break, right? There was a cutting of energy ties here. Is like, oh, we can't be together anymore because someone showed up very childishly. Someone showed up in this very immature energy. Self-righteous, acts spiritually superior, condescending, and preachy. Yeah, so this was someone who was very self-righteous, who was very condescending towards you, who made you feel like you didn't know, right? Especially if this is someone who was cheating on you, or someone who was trying to play you for a fool, is like the more that they could leave you in the dark, the easier it was for them to act out however it was that they wanted to. So again, Source is pointing out that there is this energy that's still holding on, where it's like, self-doubt or questioning yourself, right? Self-righteousness also coming from parents who wouldn't let you rest, or parents who always, you know, recruited you on the weekends to do everything and anything, just because it's like, if they ever saw you watching TV, or if they ever saw you kicked back and hanging out, that it was like, I got to make them feel bad for being lazy, even though you weren't being lazy. You were just naturally human and doing what naturally we do when we've worked all week, or when we put forth a lot of effort. Our body needs to recuperate. But that's that energy. It's like, oh, I get to treat you or do whatever I want because you're mine to control, right? That's that condensation, that condescending energy. And that's that energy of thinking like, I have control over whatever it is that pile 2 is doing. And you have to let that go. They don't have control over you anymore. You have control over you. But that also means that you have to look at, is the voice that's driving you right now your inner voice with compassion and love? Or has it taken on that energy of the people from your past that have treated you in this way? All right, so we're going to take a look at this card. I'm going to read it from the book, and we're going to see what it says. The Destroyer. Wow. Rage. Look at that. It says rage. I hope the camera can see that. That's the thing I was saying. There's a lot of resentment and anger. I don't know if I said rage at the beginning, but I definitely said anger and resentment. And rage falling into that. A lot of destruction, right? A lot of things falling apart, but it's almost like I can't. And what did I say? Oh, didn't I say I got the headache right there, right above my third eye, right here? Oh my goodness. And that's where this light is. It's like centered at the third eye, but it goes out. It like radiates out. And I was feeling like it's a tension headache. Oh my goodness. What a synchronicity. And see his arm, it says destroy on his arm. I don't know if you can see that. It's in red. It's really light. It says destroy. It's like destroy. Destroy. Yeah, so let's see what this says from the book. And number 17 breaks into 8. And 8 is about our karmic cycles. But 8 is also a really unique number because it's like what goes around comes around. But when we choose to do something different, we can also bring in our abundance, which is what the Wheel of Fortune was trying to say here as well in the reading. It says it penetrates the center of the eyeball, the thorn. Inside the white, robust forehead enters the neck that brings air to the heart of uncertain motions. It penetrates there and it stops. Pain grows between the viscera and the bones, from the feet close to the earth, to the head, to the celestial seat of fire. Isn't that funny? I was talking about a headache, and it's talking about the pain. It empties, devours, and mauls. The body accepts. Wow, and we were talking this whole time about the mind-body connection and health, and whoa. The empty body accepts. The empty body is reborn in pain. The pain that melts metal like embers in the blacksmith's hand, sings, molds, and renews. When surrendered to fate, the soul loses reason and purpose, and the roofs are torn off, so the ship without sail and without seamstresses proceed uncertainly between the opposing waves. And Atlas, weary from fatigue, drops the prodigious bulk of the world. There lives the destroyer. The deity with the fiery head and the gaze of embers, the god of whom more than any other responds metamorphosis. Who confounds the world's laces and awakening? Who breathes new life into the motionless machine of the body? He who destroys strips the body that yearns for heaven of its weight and useless things. The earth melts and descends. The clear soul rises, mindful of pain, friend of death. Accepting the end is the way to rebirth. Wow. We said that too. It's like this accepting what was, what happened. Forgiveness is saying like, I let it go. I accept the situation for what it was. I accept that I cannot change it. And this comes through, and that's that confirmation of that as well, right? The other one that really was, he who destroys strips the body that yearns for heaven of its weight and useless things. The distorted desire energy coming in here. It's like if I'm constantly busy and on the go and building and not focusing on myself, then I'm okay. But then eventually the destroyer will rear its ugly head and things will fall apart. Accepting the end is the way to rebirth. This is not an easy message, pile number 2. This is actually really deep energy, but it is very valuable when you're able to take these steps and let yourself be free from the burden that you've been carrying for so long. Okay? So this is what I see here for you. If you felt like this was your reading, leave a little ladybug emoji down below and say, by choosing to make space for myself and to grieve the pain of the past, I step into a space of acceptance of who I am and therefore magnetize my fortune to me. And if it resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It'll have everything that you need. With that, I would like to take this moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this truly profound message. And until next time, pile number 2, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice with the sun on it, or if you were drawn to this selenite bracelet, or perhaps you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, then this is going to be your reading on the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. First, I would like to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey with me. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And if you are new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic selves. We do things differently here on this channel, so that being said, if the message does happen to resonate with you, it would mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. With that, we will go ahead and get into it. I do just quickly want to mention that because we are getting a shadow message from your soul, that this could come with potential trigger warnings. So keeping that in mind as we move forward into the reading, I have said this on all of the readings thus far, and it's just to be forewarned. I wanted to preface the reading with that today, okay? So let's hop into it and find out. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, pile number 2. Source, what would you like to share with us? The shadow message that your soul needs you to hear today, pile number 2. Source, what would you like to bring forward for us? Okay, so we've got the first house, we've got Taurus energy, and we've got Mercury. So this is interesting. Let me put this on my block. So it's no surprise that the emotional ego has appeared in all 3 piles. Okay. But with the first house, it does talk about our ego, our self, our identity to self. Right? Making sure we check our identity. There's this energy that's coming in, though. It's like you're resistant to changing yourself. You have begun to identify with a particular part of your journey and saying, this is just who I am, and I've already done so much change and I don't want to change anymore. And you maybe have said this to other people, or you vocalize this. Finally, I found who I am, and that's just it. You know, the journey to authenticity, pile 3, is a lifelong journey. There is no, we finally reached a destination. We're always learning more about ourselves, because it's just a lifelong journey. You know, when you fall in love with somebody, that's a lifelong destination. That's not, you're not ever going to get to know the person standing in front of you, because they've lived a whole life until they met you. So you're always going to be learning new things about them. And when we've lost that, when we said, oh, like nothing else matters, like I know everything there is to know about my person, or I know everything there is to know about myself, we become stubborn and resistant to that change. The change that is already constant within our lives. The change through which our lives will eventually morph and transform and break apart and to fold in and to blossom. There is no stopping that. But there's something here where you've resisted taking the next step. You've resisted to move on from something. And it's okay, right? There's no one here blaming you. Source isn't blaming you. Your soul's not blaming you. Again, this is a shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. So this is just the message coming in and a confirmation to probably the already intuitive nudges that you have received. Like, can you be honest with yourself? With Mercury here, can you be truthful with yourself? Can you communicate to yourself and talk with yourself about what it is that you need right now, rather than staying stuck and stagnant and stubborn to that change? This is resistance at its finest. And it has to do with how you view yourself. Like, oh, I'll never change, or I'll never be this, or I'll never be that, or I'll never have what I want. It could be anything, right? It could just be like, oh, I've healed enough and I don't need to heal anymore. Like, I've gotten to this place of standing up for myself. And you might be a little vicious and brutal with people without realizing it, because you've never had a voice for yourself. Or maybe you've gotten to that point where you've learned not to say anything at all, but there's actually times when you need to say something, right? And so it's just always being clear that in the moment of change, can I adapt? Can I allow myself to adapt to what's coming in for me in this moment, and not be so attached to who I have become, but rather celebrating those steps that I've taken to get here and recognizing that it's going to be those very steps that take me beyond this point that I'm at now. There is no destination. Destination is death. Okay, and that's just the way of life. That's the destination, but that's not even a destination. That's just a beginning of a new chapter, which leads us into whatever comes next, and potentially being reincarnated again and living it over again, if that's something you believe in, or whatever's next in the afterlife, if that's something you believe in. Okay, what I'm saying is that we are never going to have a point that we reach where we just stop, but that can feel like it for many of us on the journey. We've reached a point where we feel like we've learned so much. How could I possibly learn more? How could I possibly absorb more? How could I possibly grow beyond the person I am today? Because I never even imagined I could get here. And so it's continuing to approach the journey with a curious mind and an open heart, and remembering that the more you lead yourself, the more unknowingly and knowingly you'll begin to lead others, which will lead to abundance in your life. Not necessarily monetary abundance. This is abundance of soul, knowledge, wisdom, and expertise of what it is to be a human in this realm at this time, which gives likability and resonance to other souls, people who can relate to you. That is where you begin to give them space to be who they are. But right now, there's a stubborn energy that's holding on, and it is the emotional ego that's trying to prevent from being demolished or admonished here. But we're not trying to completely rid ourselves of the emotional ego either. We are trying to get our emotional ego's voice down so that our spirit voice takes over. And eventually, we'll get to a point where our emotional ego can work in tandem with our soul. But right now, it does feel like there's still a little bit more for you to work on, bringing the emotional ego voice down a bit. And that's okay. You know, again, maybe it won't happen in this life. Maybe it will. There's no holding on to that. It's just letting things be as they will and as they may. But sometimes we get so stuck on it being a certain way that we're not realizing that we're becoming our own limitation. All right, so the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Source, what else would you like to share with us? The shadow message that your soul needs you to hear today. Okay, thank you. A lot of Leo energy is coming through. Leo in the first house, so Leo rising. That would be also Leo Mercury. Leo in the second house is important as well. And again, if you don't have that, that's fine. I'm also hearing like you were born in the morning or at noon, like between noon and 1, or right when the sun was rising in the morning. Born on the 10th, the 1st, the 11th, or the 30th. Okay, wow. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Okay, Source, thank you. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today, pile 3. Source, what would you like to bring forth? Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a fear and an anxiety that's driving you here. And it could just be, honestly, you know, pile 3, like, the journey does get exhausting. You know, everybody's like, oh, it's so rewarding, the spiritual journey, the journey to self-awareness, it's so rewarding, and it truly is. But if they had mentioned how exhausting it was, would we have really signed up for it? Like, that's just something to ask yourself. Would you really sign up for it if you knew exactly how exhausting it was going to be? Chances are probably not. But the reward outweighed the potential downside, and so you got involved in it, and that's why. And yes, it is rewarding, but we have to remember that it's a lifetime journey, and we're not seeking destinations here. But there's a fear and an anxiety right now that is overwhelming you at this time. So let's see what else comes through. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Yeah, you have the opportunity to nurture yourself, to caress the ego, not in a way of, you know, stroking it, but to caress it and soothe it so that you're soothing its worries. You're reminding it that you are supporting your journey and that you're supporting yourself. And while it is easy to be afraid of what's next, you've already grown accustomed to that so far. Yeah, okay, so the Seven of Wands in the reverse on the bottom, there's this feeling of, what's the point? It just feels like no matter what I do, it's just a lost cause. Like I'm not moving forward. And I've said this many times, but the thing is that life, when you have a goal in mind, it moves so slowly. Like when you're making it towards your goal and you're taking a step towards your goal every day, life moves slowly. And that is a foreign concept to so many people who aren't pursuing their goals. They're like, life is flying by, like it just gets faster and faster. But when you're pursuing your goal, it just feels like it takes forever. And it could be because we're hyper focused on time. But more than likely, it's because each step matters, but we're not seeing just how far we've gone until we look back a great distance. Like you look back to last year, you're not the same person. Even from last week to this week, you're not the same person, right? Because all of those steps have taken you to somewhere else. But there's some sense of stagnancy where you're just like, no, I just want to, you know, and that could be needing a break. You could be hitting burnout as well. That's coming in as well. To just be needing to step away from all of your daily activities and reconnecting with yourself. Okay. But there's an unclarity here. There's something you're not seeing. Something that's not... See, honestly, this really feels like you're in this business of getting stuck on, this is it for me. This is all I can ever do. This is all I'm ever going to have. This is all. And not celebrating how far you've come. Not celebrating the distance that you've gone. Yeah, there's still hope. There's always hope. Even if things are falling apart right now. Right? It's coming back to a state of balance, a state of integration. Yeah, to rebuild your stability on who you are. I feel like I need to get a clarifier here. I just want to get a clarifier for the Ace of Swords. Can I please have a clarifying card for the Ace of Swords? The Ace of Cups, also in the reverse. Okay, yeah. And the Knight of Coins on the bottom in the reverse. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, there's this energy where it's like, maybe you want love, you want clarity, you want money, whatever it is that you want. But right now you're so focused on something else and you're just like, I'm just done. Like, I'm never going to move beyond this. And your soul is saying, yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're so much more powerful than you're giving yourself credit for. You're so much more amazing than you're giving yourself credit for. Right? You have so much to offer. And it's like, you're not seeing that right now is a gestation period where all the seeds that you planted are growing. And oftentimes they start growing under the soil. Actually, in all times, I don't know if there's any plants that grow above the soil. At first, you don't plant a seed in the air and hope that it grows. You have to bury it under the soil. And so oftentimes we don't see that unless you have like one of those setups where you can watch it grow, It's growing and we're not seeing the progress. And that's what this really feels like. You're not seeing the progress. How am I making progress if I'm not seeing it? You might not see it, but everyone else is seeing it, right? And so there's a lot of self-sabotage energy that's coming in, but also that feeling of things moving super slow, like at a snail's pace. What's the point if it's going to take this long? Well, it's taking this long because that's where integration happens. That's also where being humbled happens. That's where realizing the power of the journey happens. And this is where your growth happens. Coming back to that place of emotional intelligence, right? bringing back a natural or human touch in this artificial framework that everybody's living in. Okay, there is productivity. You have to act from your gut, though. It's acting from this space of inner knowing and intuition rather than forcing things to happen or just saying, I give up. And it's okay. Like, if you're feeling like you need to give up, then the question might be, do I need to take a break? Do I need to take an extended break and revisit this maybe in a week or in a month? I wouldn't go too much longer than that if at all possible, but that might be a step that you can take, because when you get stuck and dragged down in the mundane and the routine and it just becomes monotonous, we lose sight of it. We realize, like, that's what life is monotony of routines. But we're so used to wanting it to be like an action movie or like an action show or like drama or all this stuff. But all that is just, that's in the movies. That's not necessarily reality. Okay? And that's what this feels like here. It's like acting from the gut and allowing yourself to step up into that powerful identity as you are, and not being driven by not what you're seeing, right? But what you're feeling. Yeah, so this could be a constant pursuit of money. I only want money. Like, I'm only being driven by material things. A lot of Taurus energy here, too. You could be a Taurus sun, moon, rising, or Venus. Taurus north node. That's a plane going over. Planes, trains, and automobiles. That's what I'm surrounded by. Yeah, it's like instead of having a clear goal in sight, it's almost like you have a goal, but the goal might be something that is money oriented. Like, well, I want to earn $1 million, but there's no like real goal attached to that, you know? Like in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about how we have to set our clear intention. And it's like, okay, I will have, say, $100,000 by December 31st. Well, that's great. But what are you going to trade off to receive that from the universe? And that's what we have to decide, what our goal is, so that we can pursue it relentlessly without falter, just trusting that it's going to get us to where we need to go. But right now, there's something here that's stalling you. It's like a disconnect from self. And it could be a broken heart. It could be just a lot of mind chatter going on right now. There could be a lot of dealing with stressful situations outside of you. But your soul is like begging you to see your power and the feminine power of receptivity, to receive your blessings, to receive what it is that you want. And so this could also be like, you know, again, that energy I was getting where it's like, I'm just going to stop. Like, instead of growing more, I'm just going to see what happens, just staying here and not doing any more work. So there's no like practicality here. It's just like hoping that you did enough and that's it. And again, this could be something that's coming up from beneath, like feeling like this is something from your childhood trauma. This could be from when you were a teenager. This could have been from when you were a young adult. Take it as it resonates. But it's like something, it's as if like no matter how hard you worked, it was never enough. That's what's coming through here. So you're almost applying that same mentality to your spiritual journey. It's like, it doesn't matter how hard I work. It's never going to be enough. So why bother? And so you're feeling empty right now. There's a lot of negative feelings that are arising, heartbreak, emotional dryness. I don't want to connect with people. I don't want to be around people right now. Right? So there's maybe this need to really draw back and take a break. Reconnect with yourself. A lot of negative thoughts, misconceptions, self-defeat, injury. Okay? This is all about how you're seeing yourself. Putting up shields and blocks. Psychological defense mechanisms. I need to be in total control. Like if I stop, I'm controlling the situation. I don't have to worry about anything. So if I fail, it's my own fault because I chose to stop. So then I have no one to blame. But if I keep going and I don't succeed and I fail, who do I have to blame? Yeah, this is overwhelming. It's almost like I'll never be enough. So what's the point? And that's what Source is saying. Like, you've always been enough. And your soul is saying you've always been enough. But there's a fear that's creeping up. The anxiety is that I've never been enough because I've always struggled. Or I've always had to fight just for my right to be here. And it's a combat. There's no clear outcome. Like, how do I know I'm going to succeed? There's no definitive answer that yes, I will succeed. I will be able to get where I'm going. I will be able to overcome. That's that stubbornness. It's like your thought process right now is actually being ruled by an old wound, but it doesn't feel like an old wound. It just feels like this is the way things are. So it's going back and saying, is this the truth or is this the illusion that I've bought into? Which is easier said than done. I can appreciate that for sure. Realizing that there might have been somebody in your life that was very brutal and aggressive towards you and making you feel really small. And nothing you did was ever enough for them. And not wanting to face reality in that way. Feeling like you didn't have the strength to overcome what they were doing or how they treated you. But then you maybe got away from them, but still are in that energy like, how am I ever going to overcome this now? It was 2:22 on the clock as I was saying that. Trusting in the process. You might have come from one of the other piles as well. Please know, there's no obligation to watch multiple piles, but I do want to mention that if you have watched all 3 piles with me, leave a purple heart down below. You're a part of my Purple Heart Club, and I know what that means. And if you're here for pile 3 and pile 3 alone, I appreciate you equally as much, okay? I know this is not an easy message, but let's get some more out here. The 9th house. Yeah, the only thing that matters right now is your spiritual growth. Don't stop. Don't stop believing. Okay. All day. That's the first song I've gotten. All day. Yeah, so don't stop believing. Right? Like it's trusting in the process and having faith. Like that's they're simple, but they're not easy because if we can't do that in the physical realm with other people or with situations, how can we do that with something that we don't see? Right? But that's kind of the point, is to do it with something that we can't see, knowing that Source will always have our back and that our soul always has our highest good in mind. Right now, the only thing that you need to focus on is your spiritual growth, reconnecting with yourself. That could also be you're in spiritual burnout, meaning you're not getting enough spiritual rituals in or spiritual love and care. Mutable. Surrender, fluidity, and welcoming change. Thank you for this confirmation, Source. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Right? I'm done with change. There's always going to be change. Like, there's no stopping it. Didn't we say that at the beginning? There's no stopping change. It's inevitable. Life is always going to change. Like, even if you just stop doing what you're doing, you're still going to change. There's no stopping that. And surrender is a part of that, too. Surrender is a part of that trust. This is the image that's on the box and on the book. Strength of vulnerability. True power lies at the root of a perceived weakness. Yeah, so there's like a perceived weakness. Like, I can't move on because this is my weak point. Like, I just am not enough to do what I need to do. This is a self-value. How do you value yourself? How do you see your self-worth? False belief. Wow, very clear message. Once the untruths that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations that confine us to. They confine us to. Once the untruths that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations they confine us to. So again, self-limitation. I believe I said that at the beginning too. This is a self-limitation, a box you've put yourself in. I can't do this anymore, can't move on. When we see here, there's a wisdom beyond the realm, beyond the spiritual realm here that's coming forth, that's trying to give you that knowledge to move forward. But there's a disconnect that's happening, especially with the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Swords in the reverse. Like, I can't receive my messages because the emotional ego has a grip on you right now, feeling weak about something and holding you in this space of an illusion. We have Spider that flipped over here. Trust the creative spark you're feeling and express it through writing stories that inspire and enlighten. So maybe you need to journal, or just even create stories. Like, maybe you're going through a really hard time. Can you make up a story and write it down? You know, it doesn't have to be long. It could be a couple paragraphs, but just a way to create. And if you're not a writer, that's okay. Maybe it's writing a song, maybe it's making a melody, or, you know, maybe it's creating an art piece or something like that that conveys what it is that you're feeling. Penguin on the bottom. The period of darkness that you've been experiencing is now passing. So the darkness is going to pass. This is going to go away. But with it, while you still keep working on your spiritual growth, the 9th house here, connecting with the wisdom, that innate wisdom that resides within, you'll come out even further than you could have imagined. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Whoa, okay, I guess you're getting 2 of these to do. Wow. Snake, create. The creative spark. So right now, the most important thing for you to do is to create. Pile 3. I feel like that's the other thing that's going to help you reconnect with yourself, is really pouring into some sort of artistic expression where you can let go of your feelings. Just like pour it out somewhere. If you're angry, paint about it, sing about it, scream about it, do something. Crochet about it. I don't know, whatever you like to do as creative expression. Let it be. And use that as an outlet. Wisdom, owl. Yeah, the owl caught my eye on this card. I pointed it out. There's wisdom that's coming. This is even beyond the spirit realm. Okay, this is another dimension that's coming in. This could be your future self even coming in, trying to give you this message. Okay, so there's this need to really reconnect with self. And the Ace of Cups is such a unique card in the Tarot Marseille because it's a connection with the divine, and it's also a connection with ourselves. Gazimi. Seize the sunny opportunities. Yeah. Reconnecting to that positivity in life. It's much easier said than done, but there's also a lot that's coming your way. Right? Don't let the shadow overwhelm the positive brightness that's coming into your life. Keep it professional with the 10th house. So this is going to come in the form of something that's career related. So there's something that's coming that's in the form of career. You've been working really hard on. So this is like a reward for all your hard work. But how can you receive your blessing if you don't believe that you're worthy of receiving your blessing? And look, you're not alone, Pile 3. There's a lot of people that feel this way. They've done so much work. They spent so much time on the journey, and nothing really huge has happened that they thought was going to happen. And so there's that feeling of like, obviously I didn't do it right. But that's the belief that you're trying to work through right now. Love. Come back to a space of love. Self-love, self-worth, self-value. Who are you if you didn't achieve anything that you asked for in life? Who are you? Aren't you still valuable? Aren't you still worthy? Yes, you are. Even if you achieved nothing you were looking for in life, you were still valuable. You were still worthy. Those things, those ideas, those people, those creations, they do not make you. You make them. So that means that you are the creator here in this reality. Not the other way around. They don't create you. Let's get some shadow aspects for pile number 3 source. The shadow message your soul needs you to hear today. Okay, I feel like one more. Shadow aspects for pile number 3 source. Deadly combo. Dangerous when together, triggering and explosive. So this could be a relationship or a connection that you're dealing with right now. There's a lot of triggering when you guys are together. Or there's just this feeling of dread. That's what I'm feeling here. There's like a feeling of dread. Almost like catastrophizing life. It's almost like an automatic response. Like, oh, I know that everybody's saying I'm worthy of these things, but how can I be worthy of these things? Right, teasing, dangling partial truths, needing answers and shifting. It just feels like it's all one big tease. Like, source promised me all these things, but it just feels like one big tease. Like, is it going to actually come into my life? Is it going to be a real thing? Yes, it is. But if you're constantly feeling like it's not going to be, then how could source ever bring that to you? Right? That's the question. Cheetah. Get clear on your intentions, stay focused, move quickly to achieve your goal. This is exactly what I was talking about from Think and Grow Rich, right? I want $100,000 by the end of the year. Okay, great. But what are you going to trade? What services are you going to trade to get that $100,000? What are you going to do? Right? Without that, it means nothing. That's manifestation for you. You have to have a clear service that you're going to trade to receive. Right? It's an equal trade. And it's not, that's the thing. And right now for you, it doesn't feel very equal. It feels like you put forth so much effort. But again, the belief comes from believing in yourself. Companion, dog. Yeah. So there might be a lack of friendships here, a lack of companions in your life, a lack of loyalty in your life. And that's why it's like when I'm together with the people who are in my life, it's this deadly combo energy and it's overwhelming. Exhaustion at its finest. Caution. Yeah, okay. So that's what they're saying. Use caution around the people that you're with right now and pour into your creative endeavors. Creation is the number one thing that will help you and the spiritual growth. But that is spiritual growth, is creation, because it gets us into that Zen state where we're truly in the present. So what is it that you do that gets you truly into a present moment? Do that and keep doing that. All talk. Silver-tongued devil, big flirt, no action player. So there's someone here who's all talk, who's a liar, a gossip, someone who says a lot of nasty things to you and about you. Not your business. Not your business. I mean, if they're saying stuff to you, you can absolutely stand up for yourself. But at the end of the day, not your business. This person, that one day, their judgment day is going to come. Let their judgment day come for them. Don't be tangled up in that drama. Don't. It's not yours to carry, right? That's their business. Let them deal with it. These squirrels are fighting right now outside. They play all day long, and right now they just got angry with each other. Yeah. And then they went their separate ways. One went down the tree, and the other one, he went up the tree. Yeah, just go your separate way. That's really telling. I've never heard them fight before, and I just heard them. I don't know if the camera caught that. It was like, "Rrr." So, yeah, just go your separate ways. Fierce temper. This came out in another pile. Has too many anger issues and dark moods and abusive. So there's someone here that you've been dealing with, and that this all makes sense. There's someone here that you've been dealing with that is not good for you. They're very toxic for you, and that's making you feel very exhausted. And it's like almost like you're having to fight to protect yourself, which is also the reason why this feels like it's too much. Like, what's the point of moving on when I'm still having to deal with someone like this? And also maybe why you've gotten to this place of like, I can't grow any further because it's like, I thought I was doing really good, but I'm still dealing with someone like this, right? This is you overcoming that. This is you getting on the other side of that by going through it. And that's the only way we can overcome those hardships in our life, you know? When we talk about it, you can't go around it, you can't go above it, you can't go under it, you gotta go through it. And I know I said this on another pile as well. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but it is so beneficial when you can open yourself up to that and truly allow yourself to just go through it and face it head on while still loving and caring for and nurturing yourself. You are so powerful, pile 3. So let's take a look at this card. I'm going to read it from the book. The Guardian of the Threshold. Wow. A silver-tongued snake. Look, he has a snake tongue. What? Oh my goodness. This says monster across his nose. Hold on, I'm going to read what it says. There's other words written on here. I don't know if I can read it. I think they're either in a different language or it's just kind of all gibberish. Fractal. Yeah, I think it's just, yeah, it might just be gibberish. But interesting that monster's written across the nose here, and then you have this snake tongue. That's really telling. And then the card that we got, right? Silver-tongued devil. That's like someone who's a snake in the way that they talk. 19. Well, I'm sorry, it's 18, which is number 9. And number 9 is all about bringing this cycle to a close. It's not yet completing it, but it's bringing it to a close so that you can move on. All right, let's see what this says. Oh, yep, already. Beneath the smoky vaults of Hades, along the black winding rivers that lead thin souls to the burning roof of the munificent Pluto transformation, live the monsters, the gold-hungry dragon, and the devils with bizarre names that reek of sulfur, the snake-like thief, wounds, deceptions, and cages, the guardian, relentless guardian of the gates, crossroads, and thresholds. Check the determination to change. The magic guardian takes a variety of forms. It is a hostile creature, and in one it is space, outside and inside together, and together it hardens the heart and gives vigor to the arm. The soul that guards the treacherous pass is the seat of the fair without intellect. It is the place of cunning and of deception. So he who falls at the sight of the 100-eyed prodigy is lost aimlessly, following the illusions of what seems without really being. Well, I want to say that one again because that's really telling. Following the illusions of what seems without really being. So right now, showing that you're following illusions, right? The illusion, the belief of saying I'm not enough, I'll never be enough to get through this. That's the illusion. Okay? To accept the death of the guardian and with it the magic man and his gift is to recognize the monster of the self, the shadow that terrorizes and frightens how we talk to ourselves, the mysterious shadow without which we do not see the sun. Okay, and the message here is a magical gift awaits those who face their shadow. And I feel like the voice of your shadow right now has definitely taken on whoever this person is that's incredibly unkind to you, but it's taken it on in a way that doesn't necessarily seem like it's them that's talking to you. Because it might be coming from a place of just, you know, you've done this before and nothing's worked out and what's the point? But I feel like at times it has taken on this like, oh, you're just not enough. You'll never be enough. And that's not true at all. The dream was given to you because you were the only one who can see it into fruition. That's got to mean something. It wasn't just given to anybody. And even if other people have a similar dream to you, you're the only one that can manifest it in the way that you're going to manifest it. No two things are exactly alike. And there's an old saying that says, there is nothing new, there is only different. And so what you were given might not be new, but it's different because you're the one who can do it. And you're the only one who can do it the way that you're going to. And that means something. But trusting in that and allowing that to be your guide will help you to overcome this. So right now I feel like the main focus and the shadow message your soul needs you to hear today is a reminder to focus back on your spiritual growth and to focus back on what it is that you want to create. And do it for you, pile 3. Don't do it to impress anybody. Don't do it for money. Don't do it for anything other than this is what you want to do because it calls to you. And that's what matters. And that means something. And it doesn't matter if it means anything to anybody out there. It needs to mean something to you. That's where magic comes from. Okay? What a powerful message. This was probably the heaviest one out of all of these and very deep. And I'm so sorry that you're dealing with people like this, truly. But just remember, you're incredibly strong and we're never given more than we can handle. And while that might not seem like a huge reassurance, it's also a reminder that if we don't empower ourselves, there's no amount of someone giving us positive motivation that will empower us. So we have to choose to empower ourselves. And you can absolutely do that. Okay? So this is what I see here for you, pile number 3. If you felt like this was your message, leave the little spider emoji down below and say, I choose to refocus my energy back on my spiritual growth and my creative abilities, knowing that in doing so, I re-empower myself to fight fiercely for myself in this physical realm. And if it resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And with that, I would like to take this moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this incredibly powerful, profound message today. Here's a big, big, big energetic hug. Pile number 3, I love you. I'm so honored I got to connect with you in this way. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here and get on out of here. But until next time, stay human.